to approve the minutes.
Second the motion.
Any questions or concerns? So moved. Okay. Citizens' comments and petitions. Any concerns from anybody? Okay, moving right along. Town council referrals. Okay, how about some correspondence and communications?
I have
Zero? Go ahead, Francis.
I have two. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, okay. One, we have been doing the Groton Boat Club through Parks and Rec down by the Spicer House, where there are the variety of kayaks and boats, and you can go to the boathouse and get the paddles and all that stuff. And a couple times when we've gone, there have been people there just visiting the Spicer House, and they don't know about the boat thing. They were asking, oh, were these open to the public and that kind of stuff. I was wondering if it might not be a bad idea to have some signage of some sort, like at the place where the boats are, so people realize they can sign up to use them, and that could be, you know, a way of promoting it.
Yeah, that's a terrific suggestion, Fran. Right now, I think the information is in our brochure, and we assume that everybody reads it as soon as it comes in the mail. Don't shake your head no.
No, I get it. But I think there are people who visit the place who don't know. And
Yeah, no, that's a terrific suggestion, and yeah, we should put something down by the boats so that as people are kind of milling around. I know I came into work and worked on Sunday for half a day, and there was it was busy, so that was good. But I think a sign down there would make sense.
Francis, what type of boats are there?
a variety of different kinds of kayaks, and there are paddle boards in the boathouse. I don't know if there are like the shells that people use for the high, what do you call it again? Sculling?
Yeah, the rowing shells. Yeah, those.
That's not my speed.
Yeah, and those are not available to the public. Those are all privately owned.
Yeah.
So is there any type of training that needs to go along with people taking boats out? I'm just
Yeah, I don't
wondering
think
about the liability.
Yeah, I'd have to check. I don't think there's any type of an orientation on. I think if somebody asked, one of our staff would say, oh yeah, I'll go out and kind of show them the ropes. We do ask that they wear a life preserver, and there are some available, but during COVID, we didn't make life preservers available to the public. You had to bring your own, and most people felt that that was a good idea, just for health reasons. And plus, we didn't really have the capability of cleaning, sanitizing a life jacket after it had been used.
Marcus, I had a question about the Connecticut safe boating certification. That's not
Yes.
something that's required of people who use those boats?
No,
Watercraft, I should say.
so I can answer that because I have it.
Okay.
So that's only
Oh,
a
good.
boat with a motor that you need that for, and like a jet ski or above.
Okay. Thank you, Michael. I wasn't sure if it was a boat over. I think if you have a boat over a certain size, maybe 14 feet, it has to be registered. But I didn't know about taking the boating class. So if you're sailing, you don't need to take the boater safety course.
From my understanding, I don't think you do. I think there is probably a certain size if your sailboat has a motor on it, you need it. But from
Yeah.
my understanding, if you do not have a motor on your boat, you do not need the safety course.
Okay.
I'll have to look into that myself as a boater. I thought if your boat was registered, you needed to have something along with that. You needed to have a boater safety training course.
That may be true. Usually people that have like kayaks don't register them, so that's kind of the,
Right.
you could be right in that. Usually I just haven't seen small boats like that without a motor get registered.
I think my concern is about someone who's not terribly knowledgeable being out in one of those boats and creating a hazard for other boaters, not knowing rights of way and those, rules of being out on the water. Like a kayak, not realizing that a boat under sail, they need to avoid.
Right.
Yeah, so, but I just throw that out there. I'd have to look too, Dom. I'm not up to date on the requirements myself.
I'm not. I will look that up. Okay, Francis, you had another something else?
Yeah, the other thing was somebody asked me recently if there's going to be swimming lessons available again for kids and, pool time and anytime soon, because it hasn't been in the program for a while. So I figured I'd ask.
Sure. Yeah, we would love to have swimming back again. The challenge that we're facing is finding folks that want to be lifeguards and swimming instructors. We've tried to pool with other communities to see if we could pull enough kids together to run a class. And then the idea was that we would all be using those, the students that had taken the class, but I'm not even sure that we were able to get enough kids to run a class. So until we can get, kids, young adults to take the lifeguarding class or the water safety instructor class, we're going to be challenged to offer swim lessons again. And this is a problem that's not unique to Groton. It's all across the country. Places are having a hard time hiring staff. I think one of the challenges another challenge that we face is the pay rate. We have a seasonal and part-time pay plan that's set to expire in 2023. But I can tell you, like in the Parks Division, our summers, we're having a really hard time getting summer seasonal help to work in the parks because private landscapers are paying $20 to $22 an hour, and I think we're paying $15. So, a young kid that's trying to make money for college or whatever, $15 an hour or 20 to 22, it's kind of a no-brainer. So that's another challenge that I think we're facing, is that our part-time and seasonal pay plan, which gets approved by the council, is outdated, and we're not competitive.
Mark, what are the hours for them? I don't mind. I can make a couple calls to let's say the Municipal kit. They hire a bunch of lifeguards or local schools that have swim teams. They might have people that are interested. Just throw an idea out there. What are the normal hours they work? It's just after work activity that these are usually run, or is it a block of a day, or what is the normal for these programs?
Yeah, previously, because we rent space from Avery Point, and I think the only time that we could get in there was on Saturday and Sundays. And typically, I think Saturday lessons would start maybe at 9 o'clock and go until 3. And then I think we had some swim lessons on Sunday morning. So there has not generally been anything in the evenings or during the day. Weekdays, it's always been the weekends. And that was strictly just due to pool availability.
Okay. I'll make a couple calls next week, and I'll email the team if there's any interest, and then you guys can always take that in and talk about it.
Okay, well, that'd be terrific. Thank you. Whoops.
Okay, any other correspondence or communication to any of the commissioners? Okay, Mark, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Okay, Dom, we've got one more person joining us, Roscoe Merritt, who
Okay.
is also on the RTM. Leanne,
Welcome, Roscoe.
I can't remember, Leanne, I can't remember, is Roscoe on the RTM subcommittee? The
No.
Parks and Rec?
No,
No?
I don't believe so.
Okay. Oh, looks like I lost him. Maybe he was trying to remote into a different meeting.
Well,
Okay.
I still see his name up.
Oh, do you? Okay.
Yeah.
All right, panelists. Oh, yeah, okay. All right, so Roscoe has joined us also.
Okay.
All right, so the director's report, we always file the monthly report, which includes the director's report. Last Friday, Groton was host to the Connecticut Greenways Awards ceremony. It was held down at Paquonic River Walkway. Groton submitted 2 applications to receive Greenway designation, and the state awarded both of those applications. One Greenway runs from the city east-west and goes up into Mystic, and the other one runs north-south and pretty much parallels the Tri-Town Trail proposed the proposed trail, which runs from Bluff Point all the way up through Ledyard and into Preston. And yeah, so that was kind of a big event. There was probably about 40 people from DEP, from the Connecticut Greenways Association. The paper was there. I'm not sure if they did an article. She was there taking pictures and interviewing folks, and I haven't seen it in the paper, but I don't look at the paper every day. Did anybody see an article about the Greenways? No? Okay. Well, but then perhaps it hasn't taken, it hasn't been printed yet. I'm not sure. Working on, I don't want to repeat what's already in here, but spending quite a bit of time on ARPA applications. So the council and the RTM designated funding from ARPA for various projects, and now am filling out a 10-page application for each project. So that's taking up a bunch of my time doing that. And I just, the last 2 days, sat in on, I was a part of an interview panel for the resiliency manager that the town is hiring. So there was, we interviewed 9 different applicants, and very qualified, most had PhDs. Really strong backgrounds. And so we finished that this afternoon and submitted our rankings to Human Resources, and the process will move on. I think they'll select the top 5, and then a different panel of people will interview those 5. So yeah, some excellent people.
That's encouraging.
Yeah, yep. Very, very brilliant. We received applications from as far away as, I think, Indiana. Yeah. Park staff has been busy. We received, every 2 years, we do a playground safety audit. So we have all the playgrounds that the town manage, had those inspected back in May. Got the early May, just got the report back, and have started addressing concerns that they had. I guess it was April 1st. When the Board of Ed turned over to the town the 2 schools, we ended up picking up 5 more playgrounds. And some of those playgrounds we've had to close because of safety concerns that were identified. we are working to address all of those issues and get some of those back open. Some of them, it's just the cost benefit, it just doesn't make sense to, spend tens of thousands of dollars on one particular playground to get it up and running again. Just due to the age of the playground, we're probably going to take some offline permanently and remove them. We've put fencing up around those that we needed to close. The other playgrounds where staff has pretty much gone around and made all of the necessary improvements. So that's been keeping us busy the last couple of weeks. And
Mark, you're referring to the playscapes?
yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and it's amazing how expensive pieces of plastic are. Just incredible. But everything comes in at least at $600 or $700. And as our playgrounds get older and older, we're spending more and more money fixing them up. We are hopefully going to replace 2 playgrounds this coming year, the Farquhar Park, which is out at the intersection of 184 and 117, and also Sutton Park. Both of those playgrounds are 25 to 30 years old and have exceeded their life expectancy.
I would think Sutton Park must get a lot of use.
It does, yeah. And we've made a lot of repairs. You may see some playgrounds that now have plywood up. If a slide was deemed unsafe, the inspector said that we could put a piece of plywood up at the front of the slide to keep people from going down the slide until we can. We're either taking it, in some instances, we're taking them right out. In other instances, we've ordered a part and we'll just switch it out once it comes in.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kept the park staff pretty busy the last couple of weeks. They just finished they worked with the beautification committee. I don't know if anyone's driven by that new sign right at the intersection of Route 1 and 117. We planted or helped them with the planting, and we'll be doing some regular watering until the plants have a chance to get established. But sign looks nice, and the planting looks nice.
And I like the way the sign matches up with the sign at the end of 117 when you reach Route 1.
Yes, and that was
off 95, and then
right.
Yeah.
And that's all part of a wayfinding plan that was developed and approved, probably 3 or 4 years ago. And the Parks and Recreation Department, as we've been replacing signs in parks, we're following that wayfinding plan. And so you'll see more and more of those the blue colored signs, rectangle with the same font and whatnot. I haven't seen the new sign out by the church, or not by the church, by the hospital, but a couple of people have commented of how nice it is. And it's got a sailboat, I guess, a silhouette of a sailboat on the back side of it.
oh,
So
that's why I
if you're-
didn't see it.
Yeah, keep your eyes straight ahead. But if you're leaving town, you'd see it, I guess, on the backside. Yeah.
And I love the fact that it's wood and paint and not neon.
Those I'm not sure if they're wood. Ours, we actually switched to PVC. Just
You could have
because.
fooled me.
Oh, okay. Well, maybe I should have kept my mouth shut. Just because the PVC won't rot, it will last
Yeah.
longer. Yeah.
Makes sense, sure.
Yeah. So I guess that's it for the director's report.
I have one question, Mark,
sure.
from your report. I noticed that you've been discussing changing the registration software.
Yes.
So you get away from WebTrack. Is that the idea?
Well, WebTrack is a component of RecTrack. It's the web version of RecTrack, and it's we're looking at changing because it's not particularly user-friendly.
Mhm.
It's a challenge for people registering. It's a challenge for the staff. It's super comprehensive. You can do a million things with it, but to get to that level of knowledge in order to be able to utilize the software, it's just a huge commitment. And there's other software out there that we feel that we're going to be looking at, and we think it is easier, will be easier for everybody to use, both, internally and externally.
Yeah, because I think a lot of people just kind of throw up their hands, clients looking at
Yes.
WebTrack. It's just very
Yes.
bulky and not user friendly.
Yeah, it's not particularly intuitive, and like when staff go to run a report, if there's one little toggle that you haven't hit, you can't run your report, and it's just it doesn't flow really very well. And so so that is something that we're doing. We're looking at doing that both at Thrive 55 and on the recreation side. And it could be that we end up going, we don't use the same software for both at both places.
Mhm.
But that's, something right now, because both divisions are using the same software. If somebody calls the recreation division and they're trying to sign up for a program at Thrive, we can actually sign them up. But if there's two different software types, we may not be able to deliver that same type of service.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That's a consideration now.
Right. Yep. So we're, thinking of that also, and staff from the Thrive division and staff from Recreation division they have been looking at some of the same programs, and they've also been looking at other programs. So, and part of our process is we've asked for beta versions of the software, and our intent is to bring in users and try to get some non-users, folks that habitually will just come in and do the paper, they'll fill out the form in the brochure and mail it to us. Try to get those folks to come in and kind of demo each of the softwares just to get their feedback on, oh yeah, this is pretty easy. I think I can, I get this, or no, this is kind of bulky and awkward. So we're planning on that as part of the process, rather than just the staff saying, oh, I like this one and I like this one, because customer experience, just the staff's perspective is only part of the whole customer experience.
Mm-hmm. Yes, as a customer.
Yeah. All right. Well, maybe we'll invite you, Elizabeth.
Okay, moving right along, the golf course, Mark.
Yeah. So the golf course, we installed family tees out at the golf course and have been promoting that on Facebook. Family tees are designed, they're further up the course than the regular tees. They're designed to kind of encourage new players. If you're driving and you're 100 yards closer to the tee, it allows you to play the course and get a score that would be comparable to, somebody that I don't want to say an advanced player, but you're not shooting 120 when you go out and play. You may be shooting 90, which is what everybody else is shooting. But for a new golfer, that's a great experience. It also encourages kids, to get out and play, and families to get out and play. So we put those in, and we've been promoting that on Facebook and getting some positive feedback. We also are offering or making folks aware of a veteran discount at the course. And we'll get into this a little bit more when we get down to the unfinished business, the Shinnecock rules and regulations. The other thing that we're promoting is June is National Women's Golf Month. So we're offering a special for $30. Women can play at Shinnecossett Monday through Friday anytime, and Monday through Thursday anytime, because weekends are considered Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and anytime on the weekends after 12. And we are kind of doing that in partnership with the Women's Golf League at Shinnecossett. One of the other things that we did is we added to our webpage, the Shinnecossett webpage, we added information about the Women's Golf League, and they've been a really positive response, and I think they've picked up like 6 or 8 new women's golf members.
That's good.
Yeah, yep. Trails Coordinating Task Force, as you know, meet quarterly. We have a meeting next week, so there really isn't anything to report. Athletic fields on Monday night, we had our visioning session over at Thrive 55. We probably had 35 to 45 people attend. So it was a good turnout, diversity of ages. And what they did is they set up 3 different exercises for people to participate in. The first one was you were given a sheet of Avery dots, and there was a list. There was 4 boards that had lists of projects that had been identified previously on Greater Groton, which is the website that the town is using for public engagement. So there was a list on the side. There was 4 or 5 projects listed on 4 or 5 different boards. Across the top of the board was like your interest level, like, no, I'm not very interested. I am interested. I'm strongly interested. And yes, this is something that has to get done. And so people could put dots on the project that they supported or didn't support. They could put dots on the project and say, well, no, I don't really think this is important, or yes, I think this is important. So everybody that attended got a sheet of dots, and they spent 10 minutes or so walking around, looking at all the different projects and putting dots on it. So that was the first step. The next exercise was a budgeting exercise. So they had provided a list of all of the different, at that time, suggested uses for the Clodchester School property. And all of those different projects had a dollar value assigned to them. So for example, 2 of the suggested uses were for what they called a pool minor, which would have been a splash pad and maybe like an 8-lane lap pool. And then there was another one called pool major, which was a full natatorium, which would have been, lazy river and a water slide and things like that. So the pool minor would cost you $50. The pool major would cost you $150. So they assigned values or costs to all of these different projects. They gave you $1,000, but the entire list cost $2,000. So it forced people to say, okay, I'm willing, if I've only got this amount of money, here are my priorities with kind of a financial tone to it. So, okay, I know I've only got this money, so I don't want to spend $150 for a pool major, but I'll spend $50 for a pool minor, and they could spend, like I said, up to $1,000. And the last exercise was a sheet that asked the question, how much would you be willing to spend? And this is the impact that it would have on your taxes. And what they did is they looked at the median home price. They looked at the current mill rate, and then they broke the list of projects. I think it was 0, which would have been 0, up to 5 million, 5 million to 10 million, 10 million to 20 million. And so they had calculated the cost of a one-time payment of, okay, if the town decided they were going to spend 5 million on, they didn't identify the projects, they would spend $5 million on projects. That would have been, and I'm just making these numbers up, a one-time hit to your taxes of, say, $300. Or if you bonded it, it would be $35 over the next 20 years. And so they did that for each of the different categories, and people, could kind of look at that and then, check off, yeah, I'd be willing to bond up to, $20 million, knowing that it's going to cost me $70 more a year for the next 20 years. So that was kind of the third exercise that they went through. So all of that information is being compiled, and there's going to be a full report on Greater Groton website of those findings. I'm not exactly sure when that's coming out. We're using some of the money that had already been appropriated for the fields study. And we hired a consultant who does this type of work. So they're compiling that report. And like I said, it will be available for Greater Groton.
Okay, any questions?
I was just going to say, Dom, sorry, I was just going to say that if people still have thoughts or ideas on what would be a good use of the property at Colchester School, you can still go to the Greater Groton website and kind of log in and say what your, share your thoughts on how that property should be used or what you'd like to see on it.
Okay, any questions, concerns? Moving right along, agency
Was
accreditation.
that survey just for like Parks and Rec, Mark, or was that for like the whole town?
Oh, no, that's for the entire town.
Okay, got it. So it was just projects for the town. What do we think we want versus willing to spend type thing. Okay, thanks.
Yes, yeah. No, and there was somebody suggested during the course of the meeting, and it hadn't been on the list because, like I said earlier, the list was taken from those previous submissions from the Greater Groton website. Someone suggested an incubator, and so the town is still looking at suggestions. And people can add more suggestions to the Greater Groton website.
Any other questions? Agency accreditation, Mark.
So I think, as everybody knows, we asked for a deferral when the site visit team came, when the site visit team submitted their first review. It was clear to us that there was some issues that were going to keep us from becoming accredited. So we asked for an extension. The National Recreation Parks Association has given us a one-year extension, and we have already started to work on some of those issues that they identified, that they said, no, we were not going to be able to, we weren't going to say that you had met that standard. One of them is we haven't done a recreation master plan in 13 years now, and master plans really ought to be done about every 8 to 10, and the NRPA has said, after 10 years, whatever you got really doesn't qualify. So we were kind of just beyond that time limit. So as we went through the budget process, we did get approval for funding to update our recreation master plan. So I've been working on an RFP. I hope to get that out probably in August and have somebody on board sometime in September, and then have the master plan wrapped up by March of next year. So we'll have that that was one fundamental standard that we weren't going to meet. And if you miss a fundamental, it doesn't matter how many other standards you meet, you're not going to get accredited. So, and then we're also working, there was, bless you, there's some issues with other departments that need to be doing things. And so we're working with those departments to try to make sure that we can work together to come up with some kind of resolution to get them to do those things that we ought to be doing as an agency so that we can get accreditation.
Other departments within the Park and Rec?
No,
Or
other
departments
departments, yeah, other
throughout the
departments
town?
within the town, right.
Okay.
Yep, yep. Yeah, so your homework is not over yet. There will be more documents to approve and things like that in the coming months. But I feel really good about where we are right now, and we've identified those areas that we need to work on. So I feel really comfortable that next year we will be accredited.
So with accreditation, what do we gain?
I think it sends a clear message to the community that our department is utilizing best management practices. It will certainly help us in acquiring grants, knowing that it's an accredited agency. And I also think it sends a message to elected officials, that what the department is doing is nationally recognized as, like I said, best management practices.
Thank you.
And just sorry, Dom, I was going to say, just operationally, we work much better.
Okay.
We're doing things the right way and identifying things that we weren't doing that we should have been doing. And so I think all of those things are net positives for the department and for the town.
Well, it's certainly a good idea to take a look at yourselves, and that's what I guess accreditation is about as well. So
it is.
So that's a good thing. Unfinished business.
So Shinnecock rules and regulations, as you recall, I think back in February, there was a joint meeting with the Golf Advisory Board on the rules and regulations and the rates. So we went to the council, and the council asked us to go back and look at what we could do for retired or active military. And we had a discount for daily play, but we didn't have anything in our membership categories. So what we've been doing over the last, the golf, not the Golf Advisory Board, but the golf pro, the superintendent and myself, we sat down and we talked about, kind of next steps. And what we're doing right now is we changed the registration form to ask the question if somebody was active or retired military. And we also changed the registration form because the council voted to add a veterans rate, which was a discounted rate. But they asked us to go back and see what else we could do. So we've been tracking the number of applications that have come in that they identify as either active or retired military. We were supposed to have a Golf Advisory Board meeting on Monday night, but due to technical difficulties, we couldn't hold the meeting. So my goal was to have the Golf Advisory Board approve, make a recommendation for changes in veteran pricing, and then come to the Parks and Rec Commission on Thursday night and say, okay, this is what the GAB approved. And so we could take that back to the council because the council asked us to come back to them. So like I said, we weren't able to have the Golf Advisory Board meeting. That's been rescheduled for next Monday night. So my thought is we will have a discussion with the Golf Advisory Board next Monday night in the July meeting for the Parks and Rec Commission, I will present to you the Golf Advisory Board recommendation. Hopefully you folks will approve that, and then we can move on back to the council with the recommendation from the Golf Advisory Board and the Parks and Rec Commission.
Thank you. The only question I have, and I brought up at that February meeting, was there any consideration for a discount for seniors?
Yeah,
And they did not speak to that. So I'm just wondering why the council might not have, asked a recommendation for just their normal senior citizens of the town. So I was just curious if that was brought up.
the council did not. Now, this meeting was back in March, so I don't believe that the council brought up any question about senior rates. And I don't have the rate sheet in front of me. But Dom, you're saying there's no discount for seniors? Seems to me that there is.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
but
I was
maybe
gonna
I'm
say
missing-
the same thing. I thought there was a senior, there may not be a senior membership. I'm not sure about that. But I'm pretty sure, Don, that there is a senior rate in there.
Yeah, well, wait a minute. Let's see. I might have one in a previous packet.
It might be for membership.
Yeah,
So I just looked up the document that we used. Hold on one sec. Sorry, reducing background noise. I just pulled up the document that we reviewed for the rates. I think it was back at the February meeting. And there is a senior citizen rate under limited for, it looks like season passes.
Right, that's for your
I don't think
member,
there's one for,
for regular play, right.
yeah. Oh, there is a golf cart rate discount for seniors,
Oh, that's good.
but not specifically for pay to play rates that I see. Correct me if I'm wrong, Mark, please.
yeah, I haven't found. Looks like I don't have the February meeting. I've got January, December, April. But I don't have March or February. No. So I'm not, yeah, without the sheet in front of me, I couldn't tell you all the different rates and,
Yeah, I'll look that up myself. So
Okay.
I'll check it out.
okay.
But thank you, Francis. Thank you, Mark. Any new business?
No,
No, doesn't appear to be. It looks like our next meeting is July 14th. And I'd like to make a motion for adjournment.
So I just have a question, Mark. Last time before we adjourn, we mentioned like on the website, I went and checked out between last meeting and this meeting, all the it was like all the reports, I'll say. It's in the studies, guides, plans and guides on the website.
yes,
So I had a couple questions just on kind of some things going on from them. The needs report you're talking about that's old, I think is the one that says it was done back, I think 2009 was the last time it was done. The master report, it was like 100 some pages long. Am I thinking correct in that first master plan?
right, that's correct. The last time the Recreation Master Plan was done was 2009. And yeah, it's probably 100 pages.
Then there was two other projects. I looked through projects that are active. It looks like the only one that's left active project-wise, at least not on that part of the page, but on I think there was a
Yeah, we have a CIP page where we try to keep folks updated on where we are in that project, either completed or in progress or planned. I think of the three categories.
Yeah, so it looks like the only one that's left is like the disc golf course needs some signage. It looks like that's the only active one on there. But I do see some on the page that has I'll say studies and guides. There's a no-ink park conceptual plan, and there's a couple other items. Are those projects that are like in the hopper but not funded yet, maybe in the future? Kind of like what's the gap between what's in the paperwork versus that other page for active?
Sure. So No-Ink Community Park, that was approved this spring. We are doing some work. We held a campaign, a tree legacy campaign, because part of the plans called for planting quite a few trees. And so we held a legacy tree campaign and raised enough money to purchase, I think, like 11 or 12 trees. So the trees are going in now. Public Works is going to be restriping the parking lot. And right now there's an existing water line that goes over to the community gardens, and Public Works and it's just buried just below the ground. In some instances, it's actually right on ground level. And Public Works is going to be trenching that and running a hard line all the way over to the community gardens. Some of the other work, Public Works is going to, the engineering division is going to be working on developing a budget that includes some paved paths through the park that was planned, and also eventually the installation of a playground. There used to be a playground up there associated with the school. After the school was taken down, the risk manager looked at the playground and said, we ought to just take it out. So we took that out, and as part of the planning process, we got approved to put a new playground in there. So that's something, we'll have those figures for not next fiscal year, for FYE 24. So as we're working through the budget next winter into the spring, that will likely appear as a proposed CIP. I think one of the other projects that is on that list is the field upgrades to the field at the community center. So we went out to bid once, and all of the bids that came in exceeded our budget. We went to the council and the RTM and asked for more money to get us up to the ballpark of the bids that we received. We went out to bid again, and the price had jumped another $40,000 in the course of 8 months. So we didn't have enough money again. And I wasn't going back to the council and back to the RTM to say, hey, I need more money. I talked to Greg Hanover, the Public Works Director. I said, can you guys do some of this work? And he said, yes. And they're supposed to be starting that project very soon. In fact, tomorrow I'm going to a contract signing meeting with the contractor that's going to do the installation of the irrigation system. So the project included regrading, kind of leveling the whole thing off, reseeding, and putting in an irrigation system, because you really need a reliable water source in order to maintain a field at a good, healthy level. So they are supposed to be starting that regrading project very soon, within the next couple of weeks, because I'm sure once we sign the contract with the irrigation company, they're going to want to get going on doing the install of the irrigation system.
And that's that was all the athletic field task force. That was was that what you just mentioned? Was that the school that they said they're putting at the new fields at? Is that what? you just
No,
mentioned
no,
was about?
that's actually, that's a separate project. The Athletic Field Task Force has been working to address the shortage of fields that's been, that was identified, well, before I got here, over 10 years ago. And, you know, we knew that Gloucester was going offline, and there was a potential there to address a number of the field shortages, not all of them, because the high school has some issues with not having enough fields. You know, athletes are having to travel. They can't even play at the high school for various reasons, for lack of fields. And so the Athletic Fields Task Force has been focused on trying to address the needs of youth sports and also address the needs of the high school athletes. So this particular project was not part of that study. This was independent of that. You know, this is a field that has been used by JV and freshman teams at the high school. Adult sports use it, youth sports use it, and we regularly get complaints about the condition. It's not a very flat, the field isn't flat, it doesn't drain properly, and you know, there's safety concerns because it's so uneven. So we were going to, that really wasn't going to help address the shortage of fields. It was just going to bring up the quality of that particular field, but wasn't necessarily going to address the shortage.
Okay, no, appreciate it. It sounds like I read through the task force. Sounds like they've been doing a good job to try to, you know, figure out what's needed.
Yes.
Once those, you know, so they have a recommendation. I don't know if there's funding needed or whatever, but once those occur, do those, you know, whatever they do, let's say they take one or two schools and make fields out of them, do those become Parks and Rec property to maintain after they make that decision? Maybe they do the initial funding or however it is to, you know, make the structure, make the field, and does it go to the Parks and Rec department or the schools department, or how does that usually work from what they're doing in their recommendation?
Sure. So most likely the fields at if the council, and I'm not sure if the RTM would be involved in this, but if the council, whoever's involved in this, whatever elected officials are involved, and you know, if the communities, maybe the community's going to say, no, let's put up another strip mall there. We love our strip malls and we don't want fields. Then, you know, if we put a strip mall in, no, it's not going to fall on Parks and Recreation. If it's athletic fields on the Gloucester property, most likely it would fall on the Parks and Recreation department. Fields up at the high school, that's a tricky question, because right now there's kind of a cooperative agreement. Parks and Recreation is doing work on some of the high school fields. High school staff are also doing some of the work on those fields. So I can't say with 100% certainty how, if there was any new fields built at the high school, how that would impact Parks and Recreation.
That makes sense. Appreciate it. And the last question I had for you was, so there was some studies, I think it was done by the agency up in like Middletown area here, talking about, I think it was last year. I think it was the annual, yeah, no, I'm trying to think. I think it was a recreational needs assessment that occurred last year.
It was
last year.
Yeah,
So there's a lot of talk on the
2020, right? Yeah.
2020. So there was a lot of talk on, like, you know, what people
Right.
wanted in there, and then, you know, there was talk of the Pratt facility. There was, hey, there was lots of stats in there saying, you know, a lot of people wanted that, but then it came down 11%.
Right.
Lots of different things. So from that, is there any? I guess the two questions I have: is there any capital projects that came out of that study that we think we're going to pursue? And second question is, I understand that, like, the Pratt property is kind of like at
Right.
stall, not because of Parks and Rec, but other things. Do we see any of that going forward? And then is there any projects that came out of that we should be aware of that might go into your CIP for some upcoming years?
Yes. So yes, I'm not sure what's happening with the Pratt building. You know, I think they're going through the court system or some type of mediation, and I don't know what the outcome of that is going to be. I don't think the Pratt building is I don't think the proposal from the initial developer, I don't think we'll see that proposal again. So I'm not sure what will happen with the Pratt building. As far as other projects, we have used the information from the needs assessment to make the argument that we need to invest in our parks. If you look at the replies back to folks, or the responses back from folks, community connectivity. So connectivity to parks is important to a lot of people in the community. And so we used that information as we were going through the budget process to make the argument that our 2004 bike and pedestrian master plan has to be updated. And we were able to get money during the budget process from ARPA to fund a new bike and pedestrian master plan. So I wouldn't, well, I guess you could make an argument that that might be a specific project, but it was more the recreation master plan, the bike and pedestrian plan, and we did, we might have used data from that needs assessment to make the argument that we needed to start replacing our playgrounds that are 25 years or older, that are falling apart, and yeah. So hopefully that answered your question.
Yeah, so you used it to say these are the 2 or 3 areas we need to go figure out how to invest in, and then we're going to use different studies and various things to say that area is
Yes.
where I need to spend the money. Then we're going to figure out the details in that area of where we think the best bang for the buck is.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Yep.
Okay, thanks.
Sure.
Excuse me, Mark.
Yes.
I want to apologize, but I've got to run. So,
Oh, that's okay. I think we're almost done.
all right.
Yeah, I'm all set,
Thank you.
thanks.
Thank you very much. It was a very informative meeting. Have a
Good. Well, Don runs a great meeting.
Okay.
We're sorry, we got a little off task.
That's all
last-
right.
In
Thank
the
you
last
very
5
much.
minutes, but
Nice
that's
meeting
okay.
you all.
Not really.
Bye
All
bye.
right, yeah, really, but anyway, next meeting is 7:14, and does anybody like to make a motion to adjourn?
I make the motion that we adjourn tonight's meeting.
I'll second the motion.
So moved. Bye, everybody.
All right. Thanks, Don.
Bye-bye.
You're welcome.